It's Wednesday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns podcast, presented by Harrison Williamson Cross Country Mortgage. Good episode today, Thomas, on the docket. There's a lot happening in the college football world and in the Gamecock football world. We're going to dive right into the big news. The Board of Trustees will be meeting tomorrow morning to approve 3 new football personnel contracts. Those contracts are for the new offensive coordinator, Kendall Briles, the new offensive line coach, Randy Clements, and the new running backs coach, Stan Drayton. So this is the news we were waiting to hear on. If we go back through the checklist for Beamer, it was kill it on National Signing Day, get the offensive staff overhauled, find some guys in the portal, retain some of our key guys. And so it looks like the plan's working. I really loved these hires, and we'll get into the conversation. I want to get your thoughts just quickly. Briles and Randy Clements were at TCU this past season, and Stan Drayton was at Penn State. But we'll dive into all of 3 of these guys' histories. But what's your initial reaction to the hires that Beamer has announced, or the university will be announcing tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's good in a couple different ways. I think it checks all the boxes in the sense that, our fan base has been dying for Beamer to get a name that everybody knows. He's not a pro-style system. He has a proven track record of calling plays at the college level. And this hire is already receiving, the warmest reception from the fan base that any of his previous offensive coordinator hires have. And, that will only, again, extend till we snap the ball for the first time. And if the offense doesn't look better, how good it looked on paper won't matter. But at least for now, there is an injection of positivity into the fan base because they have gotten a little bit more of what they wanted, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. Although it's funny because already on Twitter I've seen TCU fans kind of implying that they're not sad to see him leave, and we don't know what we're signing up for. But to that point, when the news broke that Tennessee was looking at Clayton White for their defensive coordinator opening, I rushed and made a marquee and tweeted something out to the extent of, extend Clayton White immediately. And ever since I tweeted that, there have been South Carolina fans in the comments section arguing over whether or not Clayton White is actually good. So, I think that all of the stuff we're seeing online from TCU fans and Arkansas fans who are saying that they don't like Briles, we should take that with a grain of salt. I think that for now, this would be kind of a home run hire for Beamer and exactly what he needed to do to kind of get the train back on the tracks and get the people that were kind of over him back on board.
Yeah, it's one of the more interesting things I saw about Kendall Briles is, outside of just the raw numbers, what's very interesting about Kendall Briles is every stop he's made, if you take the offense that he inherited, or, so in this case, it would be the 2025 South Carolina offensive numbers, and what he does with the team the very following season of his first year, he's improved in every spot he's been, and it's been drastic improvement in most cases. I don't have the numbers in front of me to give you specifics, but the moral of the story is, he's taking 90th ranked offenses and turning them into 50th ranked offenses the next year. And that's exactly what we need. We need an improvement. We talked about it, that the defense, while I was frustrated with the defense at some points this season when we just couldn't seem to get the stop we needed, the defense gave us a chance to win every single game this year. And the offense ultimately was the huge failure of this team. And you could say that the offense has been, the failure of the Beamer era. We just haven't had consistent enough offense. We have the explosion against Tennessee in 2022, and there's moments of pure joy when it comes to offense in the Beamer era, but consistently we have not had. It's not down yet, though. Shout out Cajun Cousins, still hanging on. We have not had the consistency, and I think that's what Briles can bring. He has the track record of being able to do it in multiple ways. So that, I think at Arkansas, he had a top 10 rushing offense. And then he comes over to TCU, and the past 3 years at TCU, it's still hanging on. At the past 3 years at TCU, he's had top 15, top 20 passing offenses. So what that tells me is he's willing to look at the skill set of his team, his offensive unit, and adjust to what the team can do well to be able to gain yards and score points. So I love that philosophy. And I think this is a home run hire for Beamer for just optics reasons. No one in the South Carolina fan base wanted to see another pro style guy. I think Beamer got the picture with that, and he went out and got a guy that I think is fully capable, and especially if we can bring back Lenoris, what he was able to do with Josh Hoover at TCU, who, no offense to Josh Hoover at TCU, but I think Lenoris has twice the talent. He's bigger, stronger, faster. The things that hopefully Kendall Briles can do in this offense with Lenoris and for Lenoris, because I think, again, Lenoris struggled this past year, and I don't think it's all due to him. I think it was due to lack of trust in the scheme, lack of trust in the offensive line. He wasn't seeing things as quickly as he should have, and I think that was due to some of the failures around him. And I think just an offseason working with Kendall Briles is going to do wonders for him.
Yeah, so I obviously am on Twitter and TikTok, and I'm consuming a bunch of Gamecock news and content, and I hate that I can't think of which creator it was that I saw this from, and because I would like to give them their credit, but a word that they use that I really agreed with is if nothing else, we now have an offensive identity. Briles is the son of Art Briles, and it's, I believe the genesis of this offensive system is the air raid, and so we have an offensive identity for the first time, I feel like, under the Beamer tenure, and that's something that's going to allow us to hone in on with portal players, because it's a system that is recognizable, and we can say this is how you fit into what we want to do, and that extends to the high school level as well. Another layer of this hire that I forgot to mention on my initial, spiel is that he has a relationship with Landon Duckworth already. I retweeted it, but Landon tweeted out that, Coach Briles was his first offer. So that's just another thing that makes this a good fit. And I think that his system, I don't really know what the succession is expected to be like post Lenoris, if we're expecting Air to have developed into a starter, if Cutter is going to be ahead of Nair. ahead of air his entire career, as he seems to be right now. If Duckworth just jumps both of them immediately, but having a system that fits Air's skill set as well as Landon's skill set is definitely what you want to see for our QB room moving forward. So yeah, just in many ways, I think this is as good of a hire as we could have made. The other candidates, I think that there were interesting things about them as well. The names that were thrown out were the ECU guy and the Old Dominion guy. ECU guy ends up going to Ole Miss. I believe that he had coached under Lane prior, so that makes sense. I don't know what will become of the Old Dominion coordinator. Do you know if he's signed anywhere or done anything?
I haven't seen anything official on him. It looks like uh, he's still coaching at Old Dominion. Looks like Georgia Tech is looking at him. I just googled him real quick, and it seems like an article posted 4 hours ago. Georgia Tech is looking for him as a candidate. They just extended Brent Key, so I guess he's trying to solidify his staff going forward. But it sounds like he might be a candidate there. But
we have our coordinator now, and I think it's a good hire. So now now the eye of Sauron, aka Gamecock Nation, turns to retaining our players, and the first player that we need to retain is Lenoris. I feel confident that Dylan will return. I've always felt confident that Dylan would return as long as we retain Clayton and Sterling, which is now looks like that's going to happen. Tennessee hired. There you go. There we go.
Shout out Cajun Cousins.
Did Tennessee hire Penn State's DC?
Yeah, Jim Knowles. Yeah.
So Penn State's DC is going to go to Tennessee. We're keeping our defensive staff together. So I feel really good about Dylan coming back. I have my sources, both from my time working with the team and just a lifetime of talking Gamecock football with people. Anytime anyone that I know knows anything, it seems to find its way to me. And one of those people tells me that they believe that Judge Collier would return or will return. And for those that didn't expect him to be leaving anyways, like he definitely is a guy that could have tested his waters in the NFL. I think Cisse will leave. I think in the end, I do think that Kilgore will go pro, and he deserves to go pro. But I think he's a lot more maybe on the fence about coming back than maybe we realized. So, Dylan coming back, Judge coming back, maybe Kilgore, all of the linebackers will be back. Lenoris is the next key piece that we need to solidify. I think that if Lenoris stays, I think Nick would stay. I think Nick might stay even if Lenoris leaves, but if we want to have the bounce back season that we're all wanting to have, Lenoris staying is going to be the biggest part of that. I know that some fans have soured on him, but I want to continue to pound the table and say that, his shortcomings this year were more on us failing him than him failing us. And he is the simplest solution to us being good. Him coming back is the simplest solution to us being good next year. If he were to leave, I would be devastated. I would think that we would go into the portal ourselves and try and get a quarterback that has experience. But I don't believe that we could get anyone in the portal that is better than him. And hopefully, with our new offensive staff and just Beamer seeing how poorly this year went, our sense of urgency for attacking the portal for weapons and O-linemen obviously will be to the nth degree, so we don't waste Lenoris again, should he stay.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's key to retain those players. That's the next item on the all-season to-do list for Beamer. It's interesting with Randy Clements. So, touching on a little bit, he's the new offensive line coach. He's coming from TCU with Kendall Briles. So I think that's a positive thing to be able to see. They've worked together and there's symmetry, and so Coach Clements is going to understand what Kendall needs out of the offensive line to make the offense work. Some people might think this is a negative thing, but we do have only one offensive lineman in our two deep that is leaving to graduation. We have, Nick Sharp jumped in the portal. I mean, he was a transfer guy from Wake and didn't honestly perform that well this year. So you have to feel like from what Coach Clements is going to have to work with, these guys are still talented. Now, we didn't get the most out of them, but you look at a guy like Josiah Thompson, who we are begging to turn a corner. And sometimes with guys that are struggling, it just takes a new face, a new coach, some change of scenery to bring out the best in those players. So I'm really hoping that Coach Clements can revive our existing offensive line because, like I said, there's talent in the room. These are not these are not guys that have performed to their peak, but there's a lot of potential in the room. And I do think we'll go out and get some guys in the portal, and then you look at Darius Gray and Zion Giles, two guys that could be in the starting lineup, week one next year. So a lot of competition. Healthy competition, you would think. So I'm excited to see what Coach Clements can do. And I just want to say that Stan Drayton might be the underrated hire when it's all said and done. Just from a recruiting, I was looking up this guy. I'm not going to go all the way back, but I'll just go back to 2004. He's got experience all over the place. Mississippi State, Florida, Tennessee, Syracuse, Ohio State. He went to the Bears for a couple years in the NFL, came back to college, coached at Texas for 4 seasons, took a head coaching job at Temple. That didn't work out, but still a guy on your staff that has head coaching experience as a position coach. I think that's key. And then Penn State last year, this past season. I mean, so he's been all over the map, got a lot of experience. And then I started looking at some of the dudes this man's recruited. And I just went to 247, and he signed Cam Newton at Florida, Marshawn Lattimore at Ohio State, Curtis Samuel at Ohio State, and you're like, wait, these aren't running backs. Let's just look at the running backs he signed. Chris Rainey at Florida, stud. Ezekiel Elliott at Ohio State, stud. And Bijan Robinson at Texas, stud. Like, this guy, and that was one of the things about Blackwell. He didn't sign a high school running back in 2 years. And so that was maybe one of the reasons that we had to let him go when we were evaluating our staff. You can talk about, Rocket produced, in 2024, we didn't get a lot of great production out of our running backs this year. But again, the offense was so abysmal, it's really hard to judge individual players, individual coaches. It was just a full unit debacle this year. But I'm looking at Stan Drayton, just his pedigree, where he's been, the guys he's been able to recruit. I think he's going to be a home run hire and someone that is going to bring in, he's going to attract talent in that running back room. And a good running back in college can change your team. Like, it's a little bit different in the NFL. But you look at Boise State with Ashton Genty. running backs in college can look at South Carolina with Marcus Lattimore. Like in the college game, a running back, Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame, like a running back can really be the focal point of your team. And so I'm excited to see what Stan Drayton does and some of the guys he can bring in. And we've been starved of a running game in Columbia for a long time, probably since, and that team was so bad. But I mean, since Kevin Harris was toting the rock in the Muschamp era, like, I mean, I know Rocket was good, uh, love Rocket, but he wasn't a game breaker. Maybe some would argue that he was, but
I would
I'm
argue
just
that he was.
I mean,
He
he
had
was
a.
awesome.
That's not what he was billed as. It's funny that like he was not really sold as like a home run hitter because he had like
He
four
did
or
have like
five
5 or 6
like 50
50-yard
plus
touchdowns.
yard
Yeah,
run. Like
A&M,
I
LSU.
watched a highlight of him on TikTok the other day, and like he had massive touchdowns that were like super explosive plays in
Yeah,
big moments.
yeah,
Like it, obviously he had the huge one against Texas A&M that like I think people kind of forget about because we ended up beating them so badly. But at the time it was tied. It was 20-20, and
yeah.
his big touchdown is what started the second
The
half
onslaught. Yeah,
floodgate.
yeah,
And then he had a big one against LSU that's forgotten because of the way that game ended. He
yeah.
obviously had the Missouri, you know, game
The
winner
game
walk
winner
off.
against Missouri, that was
Yeah,
awesome.
he made a ton of explosive play. He had a big one against Vanderbilt. So yeah, I think Rocket was definitely an explosive back home run hitter. He changed the offense. I mean, looking back now, it's like how much of our O-line issues in 2024 did he cover up? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like he didn't play in the bowl game, and we only scored 14 points against Illinois. Like a lot of people will say, well, yeah,
Shula was calling the plays against
It was
Illinois.
Shula. But like I think that us not having Rocket was a huge factor
100%.
of why we struggled offensively in that game. And then, yeah, again, like I think Rocket's success is one of the main reasons that Blackwell didn't come under more fire while he was here. But yeah, I mean, it's unacceptable to not sign a player at your position 2 cycles in a row, even though the portal exists. Like you still want to be getting the best high school players that you can. And if we have a guy, if Stan Drayton is a guy that can get us a stud running back in every class, that just makes the offensive coordinator's job that much easier. And running backs that is a position that you can have immediate impact as a freshman, a la, Marcus Lattimore. So I'm super excited to see what he can do. I'm super excited to see what all of our new coaches are able to bring with them via the portal. The portal opens on January 2nd, and it's going to be with all of the coaching moves that have already happened this offseason. That day is going to be an absolute bloodbath and like just one of the wildest days in college football we've seen in a long time. Like if I was a Penn State fan, I would be absolutely sick to my stomach. I mean, they do have a coach now. Matt Campbell, I think, is a good hire for them, and he may bring some Iowa State guys with him. But James Franklin is just sitting there waiting for the portal to open, and he's
already poaching the coaches.
I mean, he took their whole high school recruiting class. He took most of the staff, and now he's going to gut their roster. But I'm hoping that maybe Drayton can bring, a running back with him. I would love if Clements and Briles can bring, an O lineman, a tight end, a receiver from TCU with them, because I I think that if we're just talking about positions on defense that we should target in the portal, definitely defensive tackles. It never hurts to have more corner or DBs. If we can get an elite DB, it never hurts to have edge rushers. But I think that Clayton White has kind of earned our trust, him and the entire defensive staff. As long as we have Tigre, we're going to have good DB play, and he's going to put kids in the league, and guys are going to want to come play for him. And he kind of is just restocking the cupboard each year, one way or another, whether it's high school or portal. We got Cisse from NC State this past year, and everybody else is someone that Tigre recruited out of high school. So, I kind of feel comfortable enough to just be hands off with the defense. Not that our input affects the offense, but I feel less of a need to speculate or wonder about us being good on defense. Like, I just trust that we will be. All of my concern still lies with the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it sucks that Katron Allen and Nick Singleton are both out of eligibility. That was the two-headed monster at Penn State this year. And despite their poor season, those guys combined for I think close to 2,000 yards and over 20 touchdowns. And they're obviously great players, but it's something to be said about, they were good players before Drayton was there this season, but it sucks that he can't bring one of them down to Columbia. But I'm really excited to see what he can do. And you're right. Just the defensive staff has proven themselves. From what you're saying, I agree. Clayton, we know who he is as a coach. Tigre, he just keeps putting dudes in the league, and we are honestly, as far as the defense goes, we're fairly young in the back half. We might, like you mentioned earlier in the episode, we might lose Kilgore to the league, probably lose Cisse to the league. But we got a lot of experience in the back end that's coming back. All the linebackers are coming back. Really, where we're going to have to fill some gaps is on the D line. You would hope that Dylan comes back, obviously, and maybe Julian Walker can be a freshman that makes an impact. I think Jazavian Currents, the kid out of South Point, he is a Nick Emanwari type guy.
Yep.
6'3", 215, can move. He plays quarterback on South Point's team. It's the Gamecock legend Stephon Gilmore, who came out of South Point. He also played quarterback. I tend to recall a time when Gilmore was in high school, and I think he scored 3 touchdowns via pick, punt return, and kickoff return against JL Man, the Patriots. So shout out to all our JL Man Patriots out there listening. But Gilmore and this Currents kid, that's how athletic he is. He plays quarterback. Saw some highlights of him in the state championship running, 20-yard scamper for a touchdown. So I think, a lot like Nick E was, just a raw dude. I don't know why Nick E was so under recruited. Just because he's from Irma.
It will never make sense to me.
Yeah,
so I gave Nick at the time, it was the Cotton Gin spotlight, not the touchdowns spotlight. And obviously whenever the players would come down, I got to meet them and see them in person, and I was shocked at how big he was as a freshman. More often than not, the players were actually smaller than I expected them to be, or that I think people would expect them to be. Not Nick. I was like, God, dude, this guy is massive.
What year was that? Do you remember?
It was
What
his
season?
It was his freshman year.
Freshman year.
So yeah, like maybe he just didn't go to any camps because I swear, like any coach that would have seen him in person would immediately have been like, yeah, this kid is a freak. Like,
yeah. One of those where you're like, thank God he's from Irmo.
Right. It's like, yeah.
If he was from Topeka, Kansas, he probably would have gone to Kansas.
Yes, and no one would have known about him there either. And then
right.
he would have they would have had a fucking All-American safety, and people would have been like, "Why is this guy at Kansas?" And it's just because I don't know. Like, yeah, we got real lucky that wasn't a harder recruiting battle to win because it should have been. Like he was a 5-star, and we got him on the cheap.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it is crazy that's kind of how some you can't always read into the recruiting rankings, but they are fairly accurate. You know, typically if you look at the recruiting rankings and you look at who wins the national championships and who wins the most games, they typically coincide. But Currents is getting the respect. You know, nationally, I think 247 Composite has him at 82 overall in the country. Number 1 player in the state, number 9 safety, and then 247 their specific has him 74 and still the best player in the state and 6th at his position. But 6'3.5", 205. Like as an 18-year-old, like I'm excited to see what this dude does. And yeah, just the next great South Point guy to come to Carolina and make an impact following Clowney and Gerald Dixon and Gilmore and some of the Devontae Hallman was he coaches South Point. So anyways, but yeah, excited to see what T. Gray does. I do think we're going to be just fine on defense. So really, to your point, what everyone's wanting to see is this offense. And for now, all we can do is talk about what we think about these coaches. We're not going to be able to see it until next season, but I do think this is an off-season win for Beamer. Again, he's checking the boxes. I know a lot of people are already starting to say, like, man, why did it take him so long to do this? And I feel like, if we have success next year, people are gonna be like, oh, this, he should have fucking hired Kendall Briles 3 years ago.
There's a portion of the fan base that have been begging him to do this the entire time he's been here, and then he'll do it, and when it works, they won't even enjoy it. They'll just be mad that it didn't happen earlier. And to those people, Ray Tanner was our AD when Beamer was hired, so that plays a role in coaching searches. I'm not blaming his failures on Ray Tanner, but we do have a different athletic director now, and the coaching carousel and the market is different every year. Like this year, there was a ton of movement, and our current AD does have a relationship with Briles, so I don't know how much of that played into it or not. But yeah, don't sit around and bang your head against the wall about why it took this long to happen. We have the guy that y'all want now. Just be happy if it works, and I think that it will work. But there will 1,000% be fans that we have our first big, great offensive performance that leads to a big win, and they won't even enjoy it. They'll just be like, Beamer should have done this 3 years. It's just like those people will never be happy. So it doesn't matter. So I don't care about them.
I texted one of my group chats. I just said, enjoy the ride next season. And that, again, we're not going to be passing out Kool-Aid and sunshine pumping quite yet, but you have to be excited. I'm excited personally, just from the the moment of ultimate disappointment when I was raising a toast to Carolina in Williams-Brice after we lost to Clemson. From that moment, it was rock bottom, and we are slowly climbing back up the mountain. And we're chipping away. And like I said, the off-season checklist, we're hitting all the boxes. And so we just need to continue this momentum. And I think good things can happen next year. I'm not about to predict us to win the national championship next year, at least not on December 10th, 2025. But we're doing all the right things. And Beamer, for whatever reason, he's motivated. Donati's helping him. Like, he's coaching for his job. A lot of people perform better when the pressure's on. Like, I don't know if that's what it took. This is Beamer's first head coaching job. So he did fuck up some of the hires, but we have to live with that. He's our guy going forward, and he had to maybe learn from those mistakes. And some would say, well, he should have learned from the first and second mistake. Shouldn't have taken him 3 mistakes to learn. But ultimately, we hired a guy that had no head coaching experience. So we got to live with some of these things that he got wrong. And I hope, too, this maybe change in his mindset on coaching and the coaches that he's bringing in is also going to lead to a change in mindset on how he manages games. And he looks at all these things that he can do to improve, not just having, obviously, players win games, but some would say there's a lot of things that Beamer can improve as far as his game management and how he does things. I would tend to agree with him on that. Real quickly, I wanted to shout out, they announced like SEC honors. We had 0 guys from our offense make the all SEC teams. Are you surprised, Thomas? I'm just kidding. That's rhetorical. Obviously, no one from the offense sniffed a all SEC team, but shout out to Brian Thomas. He was 3rd team D-line, Dylan Stewart, 2nd team D-line, Jalen Kilgore, 2nd team DB, and Bakari, 3rd team return specialist. So obviously all guys on defense. Brian Thomas is gone, but
from Bakari?
Yeah. I mean, really, he didn't do shit after the Virginia Tech SC State game.
Fair.
I mean, hell, we didn't even have him returning punts half the fucking games in the back half of the season when he broke his thumb. Well, he broke his thumb, but he would return punts in the first quarter, and then Jalen Kilgore returned that. All another thing, some of those things that Beamer does that blows my mind. If we had him back there at one point in the game, why do we not have him back there every single time? If he can catch the punt, he should be returning. But again, hopefully we get Dylan back. I mean, 2nd team all SEC, and he was basically playing with a broken back the last 4 or 5 games. He's a stud. I want him to get healthy. I want him to ball out next year. I want him to go be a top 10 pick. That'd be awesome. So shout out to those guys on the defense, and hopefully we'll have some offensive honors come in next year. Some crazy news, Thomas, out of the college football world. This sport never ceases to amaze me. Sherrone Moore is fired at Michigan. Now, I couldn't even follow this on Twitter, just all the information that was pouring in on it. But from what it sounds like, guys like Josh Pate and some of these people with insider information saw this coming for weeks. Apparently, he was, banging this chick back in the summer. Then once all this news broke, they got fired. Everyone, the internet investigates, man, and they are savage. And so, looking up all this stuff on him, then it got really dark. He goes to his assistant coach's house and has a knife out and is threatening to, end his life, and he gets arrested and detained and allegedly, yes, all allegedly. I'm not reporting this. We're not reporters. We're just fans. But the craziness of this whole situation And the fact that what some people like, basically some people were inferring that, like, if he would have beaten Ohio State, that they would have kept this quiet and, like, not, like, an overall crazy situation.
Let me touch on that, because this is a situation that has obviously spun very out of control. And I don't think that any amount of winning could have, protected him from what has happened in the last 48 hours. But college coaches having inappropriate sexual relations gets covered up all the time. So, like, yes, if he were beating Ohio State or winning national championships and he wasn't having a mental breakdown, that is absolutely something that would have gotten swept under the rug. I don't know if this news broke the way that it did because it's like his wife found out and her knowing about it is what kind of escalated it to the situation that it is now, or it's because the employee tried to break it off with him and he's not handling that well. Well, he's definitely not handling it well based off of reports. But yeah, I mean, the notion that this is something that is like taboo or doesn't happen a lot is laughable. And there, I'm not going to get into it on this podcast because I don't want to get in trouble or get anybody that, told me anything in trouble, but I have it on pretty good authority that some pretty famous coaching moves happened because of this exact situation, and that's not how it was reported. And I don't know that it has ever come out that that's what happened, but people that are in the industry know about it. So it's just, it's crazy for Michigan because, if you're a Michigan fan, there might have been people that were ready to move on from him after this season. I don't know. But they definitely didn't want to move on after all of the coaches have already been hired. So I'll be super, when it first broke, we didn't know that it was happening with cause. Like we were texting and we thought that they had just made this decision. And I said something to the effect of, well, they wouldn't fire him if they didn't already have someone lined up. Like maybe they're looking into the NFL, but no, I mean, their hand was forced on this. And, I'd love for us to call Carter Meadows and see if he's still interested in being a Gamecock. I think that what's the running back, Justice Haynes? Yeah. I believe that we courted him last season in the portal. And, now he has a free 30-day window to go into the portal before it opens because his coach was fired. So, I'd love for us to kick the tires on him. But it is a crazy, crazy development. And to your point, this sport never disappoints. I don't think that we'll have any issue filling time in the off season because stuff like this just happens on a Wednesday.
Yeah, the official job openings this cycle, and it's hard to believe if you said this in August. Florida, LSU, Auburn, Penn State, Virginia Tech, Stanford, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Kansas State, Cal, UCLA, Iowa State, Kentucky, Michigan State, and now Michigan. And you have to think everyone's got their theories, and I don't even know if this could happen, but I know the Michigan boards and all the Michigan people want Kalen DeBoer, and now it's like, okay, if Kalen DeBoer leaves Alabama for Michigan, then everyone's like, well, then Lane Kiffin will leave LSU for Alabama. The chaos that would ensue from that, I don't see that happening. I don't know why people keep linking DeBoer to other, jobs outside of Alabama. I mean, they're in the playoff, and I don't think Alabama fans are reasonable, or at least the one, like when we talk to the Reynolds brothers, like they just want to be in the play. Like DeBoer is getting the job done from the sense of they were right on the edge of the playoff last year. They're in the playoff this year. They were in the SEC championship this year. I don't know that Alabama fans want to run him out of town like everyone says they do. And so I think because everyone thinks Alabama fans are unhappy with DeBoer, that DeBoer in turn is unhappy in Tuscaloosa, and so that he would want to jump to another opportunity. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but it's fun to speculate. I know they're saying that Michigan they're a top tier program, so they're going to attract some big names, and they got some big money behind them in that program. So it's going to be just another domino. Whoever they end up going for, it'll be another domino in what's going to be a crazy offseason in the portal, because all of these coaching changes, there's going to be like 5,000 kids in the portal with all these coaching changes. So again, it's nice to be in a position where we have our coach in place and we have our program in place. It's one of those things that I'm happy we kept Beamer. And again, we got to keep, keeping this checklist, making sure that we're doing everything we can this offseason to be better next season. But yeah, this is a wild story. It was funny, then it turned dark. Now it's just like, who knows what's going on with this man and what kind of shit he's gotten himself into. Now you just almost feel bad for him, but you don't. He did it to himself. And Michigan, I mean, that's a top 10 job that's open now. And we thought the coaching carousel was over, at least for 2025. And now one of the bigger jobs in the nation's opened up. So it's going to be chaos. Chaos to see what ensues from that Michigan opening.
Yeah, I think the reason that DeBoer is going to keep getting thrown out every time there's a big opening is, one, he's a good coach. Like, there's a reason that Bama hired him post Saban, because he has a great track record. But I think there is still probably a portion of the Alabama fan base that doesn't really see him as an SEC guy, in the same way that, no one really saw Brian Kelly as a culture fit at LSU. And they do see him more as more of a culture fit at a Big Ten program. And I do think that DeBoer is comfortable at Bama. And I think that, if he stays there, he will do a good job there. But even with the expectations and the pressure that come with Penn State or Michigan, I do think that it's less pressure than Alabama is. So, like, if you were asking people why he would leave Alabama,
yeah,
because it's like, well, he can get the same or just as much money to do, relatively the same difficulty level of a job, but with slightly less pressure. I mean, who knows what his mentality is for being there or not. I do know that if that job ever comes open, I think Lane would leave LSU for Alabama. So, yeah, it's just something else that we get to monitor and see how things play out. But yeah, I hope that we're able to really, now that we have our staff in place for the most part, I hope we're able to attack, the portal and these rosters and players with teams that have less coaching certainty than we have. But yeah, there never ceases to be drama in college football.
Yeah, that's why you make the decision to keep the stability so that you can take advantage of all this chaos that's ensuing in college football. The SEC schedule is going to get released tomorrow. There's a big special on SEC Network. So what I mean by that is the opponents and home and away are already announced for each team, but tomorrow will be the reveal of where they stack up. When you play everyone, and so I'm looking forward to that. Our next episode, we're going to take a deep dive into South Carolina's 2026 schedule, analyze what that looks like. I don't know if we'll get predictive or not. We don't want to jump the gun on being too optimistic or too pessimistic, but we will know when we play our opponents next year. Obviously, we're going to end the season with Clemson, and we're going to start the season with Kent State and Towson. And then we have a 9-game SEC schedule that will get figured out from after the Towson game leading up to the Clemson game. So, again, 9-game SEC schedule. Florida, Georgia, and Kentucky are our annual opponents. And then we got some fun ones next year on fun road trips, and then fun games in Columbia. So looking forward to that reveal. We're going to dive into that big time on Sunday and talk that as well as college football playoff. No DB Blitz today because there's no games. Thomas, just in honor of our troops, we have the Army-Navy game. So shout out the troops. Shout out Campbell Hathaway. Just extended his stay up in D.C. He's working, med school for the Air Force. What is you got a prediction or a pick for the Army-Navy game on Saturday? That's the only game of the day.
I mean,
we'll just do a fun for the troops pick instead of the DB Blitz.
You got to go Service Academy under 38. It'll find a way. More often than not, under is the play in the Service Academy game. I might actually sprinkle that.
Navy minus 6.5 intrigues me. Yeah, I mean, I do like your under in the Service Academy game. Yeah, that probably hits about 3/4 of the time. Navy, I mean, they seem to be a good team. I remember Army got beat by a nobody earlier in the year, really bad. I don't know if they've improved. I'm going to go with the midshipmen and shout out to Steve Bondura, Ryan's dad. He's a Navy guy, so I'll take the midshipmen minus 6.5. Awesome game to watch. It's always a standalone game, and it's after the season, and you're like, shit, college football is over. At least the regular season is, but then you get the Army-Navy game on Saturday. So shout out the troops and shout out the Army-Navy game. Go midshipmen. This is going to put a bow on this episode. As always, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe on the platform of your choosing, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And remember, we have the giveaway. So go on Instagram, drop a comment on our reel that will be coming out, tag a friend, and enter yourself into the giveaway for 4 tickets to the Vanderbilt game, SEC men's basketball opener. So looking forward to next episode. Again, schedule breakdown for 2026. Also previewing some bowl games as well as the college football playoff. Look forward to that show. as always, go Cox.
Cox.